Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Oh my God, I'm not at home right now.
Welcome.
This is your home, Emily.
Yes, it is.
This
I'm
is
so glad you're here.
This is beautiful.
Thank you.
This is beautiful, and you're all probably wondering who is this person, and this beautiful home belongs to Emily. So Emily, who are you?
I am a small business owner. I've been doing digital marketing. I've had a business with my husband for about 7 years now, which is crazy to think. It feels like it's still, sometimes it feels like it's still the beginning, and then other times it feels like I've been doing it my whole life. So
I know, different times, different days.
the balance is definitely there, but I love it, and I primarily do photo, video, editing, kind of like the creative side, and my husband does a lot more of like the websites and the technical end, and then we do have one person on our team that also helps. He's like a designer, he does logos and all that good stuff.
In fact, we actually are using their lights right now. This is beautiful. This is what's your name of the company?
It's called Newer.
Newer? Not Imperial?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the lights. The lights are by a brand called Newer. Our company is called Imperial Digital
That's what
Marketing.
matters. Yeah, that's what matters. Thank you. Imperial Digital Marketing. This is the lighting, y'all. Thank you so much for hosting these lights.
Yeah,
I was like,
of course.
you're like, do you need any equipment? I'm like, oh, I'll take some lights because
Less you have to carry.
yeah, less have to carry, but these are beautiful lights. We look pretty good.
I think so.
I think we look good. Yeah, it's so funny, like, as we have opened our business, getting to know other entrepreneurs, but other creative people, other people in the marketing space, it's been so great to even create a community within that community. So it's lovely to, getting to know you and that you're open to this coffee chat. Because not everyone, some people get like nervous or scared.
I actually think I asked to do it.
Okay.
I saw you do it with Carly, and I was like, my turn. I want to be on one.
Well, then I saw your coffee setup here. So I'll make sure that her information, also your personal Instagram information, is in the description here, because I saw one of your videos and it was like her whole coffee setup back here is beautiful. I mean, look at this wallpaper. Like, talk about living, expressing yourself, being so intentional with like your space to make it yours, and that's what today's all about. Really, it's about figuring out who, really identifying who your true self is and living that life. And that is really what has brought me even here to you, Emily, doing even these coffee chats, because this is me. This is like, I love this, like this, having conversations, filming, creating something that can be interesting for people, entertaining for people. That is like my heart. And I see that in you too, your creativity and your, just your the way you express yourself. So yeah, we're gonna talk about all this. So,
Yeah,
are you ready for this?
I am. So to start with the house.
Okay.
So when we moved into this house, literally every wall was gray. Like, it was a flip, and they painted every wall in the entire house gray, which was awful. And we moved in February 2020, so 1 month before the world kind of shut down.
Yes.
And working here, living here, doing 100% of everything here led me to be like, okay, I need to make this my happy place. And I knew nothing about paint or anything. I had never painted a wall, let alone a house, the inside of a house. And so,
yeah, people don't see this, but like you see one wall, like all the other walls are yellow, green, orange. Even their door is this beautiful yellow. Like,
yeah, we matched the front door to the inside wall paint. Just because, I knew I was going to be here all the time, and I wanted to be in a space that really was able to bring me joy. I still love Disney, but I was a big Disneyland goer as like an escape. And then Disneyland shut down, everything shut down, and I was like, dang, I want to be in control of like the space that brings me joy. And so I was like, let's make our house a place where it's fun and lively, and also where we can be creative.
Oh my gosh. So now, me here, we go deep, and so I ask these questions. So my question to you is, did it come natural making that decision for you? Is there, I want to kind of dig a little deeper with your journey, because not everyone knows where you've come, where you are really authentic, like a very unapologetically authentically yourself in the way you express yourself, especially in the content that you create. Can you talk a little bit about like how you got there? Because does everyone like just naturally go like, you know what, I'm just gonna be this, and then you're gonna, you know, you're 10 years old, and then you become a teenager, and there's all these things that the society imposes on you, and then somehow you end up older and maybe a little different.
Yeah. So I actually, growing up, my family is all medical. So my dad is a surgeon, and my mom was a nurse until, you know, we came along and took away that from her. But so growing up, I didn't really know what I wanted to do at all, but my family constantly told me I was going to be a nurse. And so that was the path I went down for really on no intuition of my own, just knowing like it's a good job, my parents have done it, and if they could do it, I could do it kind of thing. So I went to college, and I was a nursing major for one whole semester.
Okay.
And I almost failed my first Chem 101, 102 class. And I was like, oh, this is not my calling. This is not what I'm meant to do. So I pivoted, and I started studying psychology, which although it's...
Wait, why psychology? That's interesting.
I was going through it, and I wanted to understand myself, people, and it wasn't too far off the medical path.
Okay.
So I was like,
So
I could
you're
do
like still...
counseling. Yeah, I felt like I was still in the fold with the fam. And then it took a little while longer, and I was like, okay, this is still so science-based. Like, I am not a science girly.
How did you know that? I always like to stop at these moments. How did you know you were not a science girly? Like
science classes were very difficult for me. Like I've always been good at math, and I've always been good at writing, but like sciences just weren't like clicking with me. So I enjoyed the study of like the I guess the theoretical part of like learning about your brain and how like, you know, we react to trauma or we react to all these different things, right? Like I enjoyed that portion of it, and I thought I enjoyed the part, or like I never got there, but I thought I would enjoy doing like counseling or something in that realm. But the more I took the classes, I was like, some of these things just like aren't, like, firstly, when you're in with what I was doing, I would have had to go to grad school. And I'm not a school girl. I don't like tests. I have anxiety. And so tests have always been a struggle for me. I do so well with like papers and things of that nature. So I was like, okay, let's take a step back. Like, what can you do and excel in that you actually enjoy? And it took me a while to kind of like take the step out, but I ended up switching my major to journalism and media studies. So
I see that. Okay.
So then it was like, okay, the classes I had taken really weren't applying to my major anymore. But that was okay. It was probably more of a shock for my family than myself. I had a few friends in college at the time with me that were on the journalism, PR, you know, different majors that I was like, wow, I really like what they're learning about, and I enjoy talking about this. Like, I should venture into kind of these areas. So I switched my major, and I really started to enjoy what I was studying, which was like kind of a first time for me. Was like, oh wow, like I really enjoy this process. And you know, when I was in school, like I was doing a paper on social media, and like I was just like I was just enjoying it.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like a little bit of a shock to me of like, oh, I can enjoy my work. Like that was like the first
you get to enjoy
light bulb
what you're doing.
that went off. Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed what your like your path here. It resonates with me because it what's awesome is like you were very intuitive and very attentive to like as you were navigating these options or, you know, opportunities, it seems like you were very good about like self-reflecting and being like, is this where I need to go? Because do you recognize that in yourself?
Yeah, I mean, looking back, I definitely know that now. At the time, I think it was just like, I was like, growing up, school, I was good at school, or like school was not necessarily difficult for me. Like I, you know, had good grades. I went to a good college, and so when I got there and it was so difficult, I was like, why? Like, why am I not able to do well in these things. And it's like, well, like your heart's not in it and you don't understand it and you're not passionate about it. And it was like, okay, like I'm going to need to change to do something that I can actually like sink my teeth into, like, you know what I mean?
Where does that come from though? Like, you know what I mean? Like with that drive, because I feel like, and that's really why I love that you're here today at this coffee chat, because I'm like, that's inspirational. It's like, but there's something in Emilee that like that drive, like you're like, no, I'm gonna do that, and I think it's led you to this point. So I'm like, I want to like dissect that.
No, so what really happened? My parents started to go through a divorce when I was a freshman in college, and I think my whole life I kind of had this cookie cutter view of what life would look like. Like if I was a nurse, I would marry a doctor, I would have the same life as my parents. So I went through a bit of like existential crisis. I started going to counseling at school. If you're in college and you can get the free therapy, 10 out of 10 recommend. So I started seeing a counselor and really like diving into like, okay, so why are you doing what you're doing? And I was like, I don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Oh my gosh.
So I started to like slowly make these changes and then, you know, eventually make the big switch of like changing my major and realizing like, okay, I can do things differently than the people before me. It doesn't make it wrong or less, it's just different.
You hear that? I love that. I love that.
So that's really what caused the change, was just seeing like my parents were people and that they weren't the only mold. Like I could do something different and I could still be successful and I could still enjoy what I was doing or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow. You know, something that our mutual buddy Carly and I have discussed, and that is really very much inspired today's topic is, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, is, you know, I feel like for me, my true self, like, has really come, and this is something I actually just recently, honestly, this is very new, what I'm about to say, is like how I feel, my perspective on this is that, I think I was, during the pandemic, for me, there was that battle of like my true self between my role self. And that means, you know, the role self is a person that, you know, the role I'm taking based on society and, you know, everything, you know, as you get older, what the responsibilities and all this stuff. And then you have your true self, which people don't realize is like, when you're a kid, you are, you know, yes, you're naive, but you are just, it's the truest you, because you're not really,
You're not jaded.
You're not jaded. You're not like, yeah, if you aren't putting things in your head, you're just like, you're seeing the world in your realist eyes. And so, so anyways, the battle that I had was like, you know, which one do I do? And I think I'm coming to realize even now that I feel more in tune with my true self, is that I don't think for me it was ever, I guess this is hindsight, is like, it wasn't necessarily a battle or I had to choose one or the other, because part of my real self, like there are parts of that
shone through.
Yeah, that shone through, and that, you know, I'm proud of, but it's like that dichotomy of like, how do you come to live your truth and be at peace with who you are? And so for you, did you ever have that sort of
I think I've had it many times.
Yes, automatically yes.
I had it in college when I changed my major. Everyone was like, everyone as in family and the people that I was kind of like in nursing school with, or I never actually made it to nursing school, but in the nursing major, it's like, so what are you gonna do with that major? Like, so what do you want to do? Like, I was like, I don't know. Like, I'll figure it out. Like, I knew social media was up and coming, and I was
That's so weird to hear that, because
yeah.
It's like, yeah.
So like Facebook was around. I started college in 2011, so Facebook was around and Instagram was just starting, and like, it obviously is nothing like it is today. There's been a long time since then, and so many more platforms have emerged and so much more in that space. But I remember when I was in college, I thought back to something I had heard, I don't know, in like second, third grade, where a teacher came in, a guest speaker came in for like a career sort of thing, right?
Okay.
And they said like, 1/3 of you will have jobs that do not yet exist. And when I was that young, I was like, what the heck does that mean? I'm going to be a nurse, so that's always been a job.
Oh my God, that's Okay.
And
okay.
so then as I like was going into this field, I realized, or like starting to study these things in college and seeing like with media studies, like I took a television and film class and like an advertising class. And I was like, okay, like advertising is getting way bigger on Google, social media, all these places. And I was like, there are jobs that do not yet exist that I can go into and I can kind of like pave a way for myself and learn these new things and be a part of what like is now the present, but then was the future.
Oh my God.
And so that like stuck with me so much because when I was a kid, it made absolutely no sense to me.
But you remembered it. Like
I did.
It affected. You're like, wait, there's something there.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
And
that's
so,
cool.
so I think I really like was like, it would be cool to be a part of something new and different and like starting, you know, working somewhere, doing something that's maybe not what I expected, but could be unique. And like, I think for a long time, I was very much trying to fit in, trying to just conform to the mold. And at a certain point, when, you know, my parents weren't together, I went from like a very small private school to a very large university with like, you know, tens of thousands of students. And I realized like, firstly, screw the mold. But secondly, like there are so many different types of success, and it doesn't have to be, you know, necessarily the black and white, go to medical school, go to nursing school. Now, like my sister's a nurse and my brother's a lawyer and my brother's wife is a physical therapist and my sister's husband is a nurse. So I'm still not in the mold. But
you're the fun one.
I really enjoy.
You are like, people need creatives. Like,
yeah, and I enjoy my career and what I've been doing, and
yeah, what does success look like for you? Like right now, if you like, what does success mean to you?
I think it means it's a lot different than I would have said it was a while ago. But I think like a top priority for me is like peace and happiness. Like, so obviously like peace of like being able to pay my bills, being able to keep a roof over my head, all those things like, and those are obviously financial achievements. But being able to have those things does bring a sense of peace. But then also peace in like, I'm doing what I believe in. I'm able to work with people and businesses that, you know, I think are honest and true. And then happiness, being like happy really is like a direct reflection of that. Like not having to necessarily undervalue my skills or work to a point in which I am constantly in a state of burnout or needing a constant vacation from my life.
Right.
I've, as you can see in my home, I'm constantly trying to cultivate a life in which I can be genuinely happy and have a balance. I think for so long I was burnt out. I was, you know, just doing things for either the financial gain or potentially like what other people thought, like the outward success. And it took me a while to realize, even after starting this business and, you know, doing it for a while, that was like kind of my second existential crisis of like, I am this fun, colorful person, but I felt, okay, I'm a business owner, I'm 23 years old, I need to wear black, I need to, you know, wear my hair a certain way, I need to present myself a certain way, I need to act like I'm a lot more straight and narrow than I am. And so it took me a while again. So like I changed majors. I came out into like this artistic creative field, but then as I went into the field and was trying to get clients and work and grow the business, I started to once again shift back into like, do you want to put that here? You can put the spoon here if you want.
Sorry. I'm so intrigued. I'm going to take another sip.
No, you're good.
Yes, go on.
I started to shift back into like this feeling of needing to be something that I wasn't, which was like.
Let's take a moment right there. You're starting to shift back.
Yeah.
What do you think influenced that shifting back?
I know that, Drew and I were really young when we started our business.
They were 23, right?
Yes.
When they started their business.
you
That's
know.
a very leap. That's a big leap of faith, but that also shows like it's funny. I say this now because I have perspective and I've opened my business, but I'm like, if you think about it, you're 23 and you're like, dude, like that's very bold, but I think that's also really cool that you both had such belief in each other and your talent and your skill, right, to open it up.
I think my parents were like, that's crazy. Drew's dad, he is an engineer, but he's also like gone out on his own and made his own business, and then he works for other companies. And he said to us at the time, he was like, there will never be another time in they said we could move in with them, which was an insane blessing. When you're starting a business, especially at age 23, and you do not have a large savings account, you really are like, you're going to hustle. You're going to have to get caught up in that hustle a little bit in order to make money, provide for yourself, pay off your car, do whatever you need. So Drew's dad said there's never going to be another time in your life where you don't have bills, like serious bills, because they were going to let us live with them. And you don't have serious responsibility of health insurance. So like, you could, in California, you can stay on your parents' health insurance till you're 26. So we were 23, like health insurance, you don't have children, you don't have like all these payments to make. Like if you want to take a risk, he said now is a great time to do it because, if you fail, you fail, and you get a job 3 years later, 2 years later, and you haven't lost much.
Right.
Whereas, if you go out and you're older and you start your business and you burn through your savings or do whatever you do, there's a lot more risk. Let's say you have kids and the need to provide. I mean, there's so many things that, that the risk compounds in certain areas as you get older. So we were like, okay, we'll do it. So when we started doing it, though, I realized that a lot of the other business owners we were working with were not 23 years old. And although they respected that we knew about social media, because they're like, oh, you're kids, you know about it. They also did not want to pay a lot of money because it was new and they'd never invested in it before, and we were kids.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, dang, like, so once again, I kind of had this like culture shock because here I've never worked in any sort of super corporate setting. I'd had, some small jobs in college and this and that, but I had never really had a career job. I had worked, as an assistant at a radio station, and I had done different things, but never something like this. So here I started to get this pressure of like, I need to seem older, I need to seem wiser, I need to seem different than what I was. So that's when I started kind of trying to
take a role. Your role self was like developing in a way.
Right. So I was like, okay, like who do I need to be for the client instead of who does the client need to be for me? And I finally got to that point, years later in my journey. It took a long time to realize like the right clients will find you, and it has to be a match on both ends for it really to.
Don't you think that that's a similar way to live your life when you're even like thinking about friendship or like a partner?
Yes.
Like, is that when you were saying that, I was like, isn't that like the whole point of life is to like, I think compromising your truth, that's why I go back to the truth self, is like, you'll never really be happy. It will something will come to, a head. There we go. Sorry. Oh my God.
No, you're good.
Something will come. Here we go. Something's gonna come to a head. Whether it's a relationship or you feel like you're compromising your truth, and eventually you're just anything's gonna set you off. And I think that's the same with business, with friendship, like all of that. And like I think I'm so happy that you are now. This is how cool is Emilee? Like, come on, like, dude, like you, and everyone shines better when they're like.
Yeah, and I think like for me, I've made better friends. Like you're saying, like the relationships I have now are so much more genuine because I am more comfortable in my own skin. And I'm more transparent with my friends. I'm more transparent with the people in my life. I am not doing things to please others. I was a big people pleaser. Obviously, if you couldn't tell, I picked a major based
Cheers
upon
to former. Are we former people pleasers?
I would say
in the
recovering
process?
recovering people pleasers.
Recovering. I like that. This is very good, by the way. Can you just tell everybody what you put in here?
Okay, so it's Café Sommier.
Where do we get this?
This is a small business that I am friends with, work with. You can order it online. I think it's cafesonier.com. And then ground the coffee in the coffee grinder here, espresso machine here.
Okay.
Added honey, cinnamon, ice. Oh, almond milk. Oat milk.
Oat milk.
We picked out.
Yeah.
Yes, I do oat milk.
So yummy.
So yeah, that's with the coffee. But
We're done with
and
this.
see, like even the Café Sonia people, they are some good friends, and we've been able to work with them and help them with their business, and they've encouraged us and helped us along the way. And I think really being yourself, you attract people who you will resonate with so much more than like not being yourself or putting on the mask of someone you think you should be.
So I've been excited to tell you this. I'm going to tell you something.
Okay.
Because this is a good moment with what you're saying. I really appreciate your. I identify a lot with you in a lot of ways because not only from the stock, like yes, we're both in marketing and all that stuff, but more just even you're just so you. Like I just like, you know what I mean? Like you in the way that you your videos are just so you, and I don't know, you haven't really shared too much of the other stuff you do.
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna get the term wrong and stuff, so why don't you tell them?
I am a cosplayer. So that was when I was kind of struggling with the aspect of being professional and not being professional. Like one of the big things that I felt was so unprofessional about what I did was I like to dress up in costumes and go to conventions. And that was one of the first hobbies I ever picked up as an adult.
There it is.
Okay. So one thing that kind of made me nervous as I was starting my professional career was I was also really getting into cosplay.
What's cosplay? So
I
people
was going to say, if you don't know what cosplay is, it's where you dress up. For me, it started with superheroes. And you go to comic conventions, and you hang out, meet people, go to panels where you see actors, writers, producers, all that kind of good stuff. So I really got into cosplay. It was the first kind of hobby I dove into without any friends. Like, I feel like a lot of the things I had done previously, I would follow friends to do, right? So like I would be like concerts or whatever it was. Like, of course I love music and concerts, but like a lot of things I would choose to do based upon like, okay, who else is gonna go with me? Who else is gonna do it? But at the time I was already dating Drew, and he said he would go with me. He's also a huge Star Wars nerd, so he was into it. So I started going to these conventions, and I started really like finding joy in the life of it all. Number one, as someone who is in digital marketing, social media, I love like seeing film, how people are filming things. And although I never went into movies, I do think it's just such a fascinating thing, the art of storytelling, all that kind of stuff. It's also a place I draw a lot of inspiration from, is, the hero's journey, discovering your true self, all those things. And I needed those stories, especially when a lot of the people around me maybe weren't in the same, going down the same vein as I was. It was very empowering to be able to rely on these stories of fictional characters and kind of see that there's, the things that make you weird or make you different also make you special or also make you powerful. So I started cosplaying, and I was doing that, and I was posting a lot about it on social media. But then I was very nervous that my potential clients would see me dressed up in a cape or a spider suit and would be like, why do we want to work with this person? So I was having this crisis of like, I need to be professional. I want to be successful. And I kind of was having this, idea of success that I couldn't be both, which it took me a long time to really feel like I could be both. And the people who appreciate the fun side of me, the creative side of me, the side of me that's willing to make a costume or get dressed up, do interesting photo shoots, videos, whatever, is actually a really valuable skill that I have, even though it may not look conventionally valuable too.
Do you feel like when you came to that realization that you didn't have to compromise that creative side of you, like how much of, for you, how much of it also, not only that, the right people are going to value it, but how much of it was you also kind of, I don't want to use the word like accepting, but
I was about to say, it was a lot of
but
self-acceptance.
is it accepting? Yeah. What is that?
I think for me, it was really coming to understand who I was and what I enjoyed doing, and realizing that no one else has to or gets to live in my head. So at first it was, sometimes I'm like, why can't I just have normal hobbies? Or why can't I just like want to do whatever? And then it was like, but if I genuinely enjoy this and it's fueling me with the ability to try new things, meet new people, make these friendships that I haven't had before, like, why should I care?
Oh my God, I have something to say. This is like, I was like, okay, sorry, hang on. Okay.
Go ahead.
So you said, you said, why do I have to have these normal things? And then you're like, but this is something that gives me joy. And I'm like, that is exactly the dichotomy. It's like, we are told we have to have these certain things that we need to be interested in and this and that. But it's like, this is genuinely Emilee. Like, this is uniquely your, like, that is joy for you. And everyone should have the things that uniquely bring them joy. And like you mentioned earlier, I was like, oh my God, I'm just gonna be honest. The camera keeps on shutting down because we're shooting in 4K and the yeah, can't you tell? The camera gets a little hot. I think I changed the setting. I think we should be okay, but Emilee's being very patient. Okay, so one thing that we were talking about was how you were saying like, oh, I'm supposed to have normal hobbies, but then I found something that really drew you joy. And it's like, why do you have to compromise that because not other people are interested in that? And I think there's beauty in the fact that it is, because that was like, that space for you was made for you. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And one thing that Emilee said that I don't want anyone to overlook, which I thought was like, oh my gosh. You said growing up, you felt like you had to do the things that your friends did, right? The hobbies and the interests, like you had to follow along. But it's like, where does that leave you? Where does that leave your own like self-exploration? And
it doesn't leave a lot of room for like self-growth. It leaves a lot of room for like gossip, chatter. I mean, not all necessarily negative. I guess there was a sense of community and, following the crowd, but it wasn't a community that I was necessarily so interested in. It wasn't that I had the same passions as some of these other people, and so I would go along and, whether they were interested in fashion or whatever it was, I wasn't uninterested. I mean, I wear clothes, but it was like, it wasn't bringing me maybe the same joy it was bringing them. And so when I finally went out and found kind of something, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I was like, wow, there's other people doing this. Like, where have these people been all my life? And it's like, well, you were so attached to I was so attached to the relationships I had and what those people would think of me that I wasn't ready to like let go and think like, but what is it that's going to bring me joy? And like, if I didn't have these relationships, like, would I still be interested in XYZ? Or what would I be doing? Like, if I could wipe the slate clean and be like, okay, what were you interested in? And it does, like, a lot of it does go back to what you're saying about childhood. Like, when I was a kid, my brother watched a lot of like cartoon, Marvel comics and things like that. And like, I loved watching that with him, but like, he had like a Wolverine pillow and all these things. And like, I had Barbies. And like, of course I loved my toys. Like, I played with them all the time, but I didn't have like the same cool stuff that he was having because I was a girl and, I was meant to fit into certain interests. And so as I grew up, I was like, oh, I'm into these things. Like, I'm going to continue, going down that path. And I think a big thing that actually like led me there was Drew's interest in Star Wars. I had always enjoyed it, but I was never like, rah rah, because it was like not a girly, cute thing to do. Like, oh, you don't want to be that girl. And it was like, no, I am that girl. Like, who cares? Like, what is that girl stereotype anyway?
I know.
So I was just like, let's go for it. Let's try these things. And I ended up, meeting great individuals along the process and people that not only liked me, because I'm not saying all my friends never liked me. Like that's, but not only people that liked me, but people that I could really like have this shared interest with and enjoy things I enjoyed. And it was such a refreshing experience for me. And so as I went down that path, I was able to, have more self-acceptance, see that these people had thriving careers. Some of them were accountants or whatever they were. It didn't mean they were any less valuable at their job or their career, but they were still able to enjoy these things that I was learning to enjoy.
And honestly, I feel like they were also allowing space, even like Drew, they were allowing space for you to really get to know yourself in that
Definitely.
space. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think, how many of us like allow yourself to like, even ourselves, giving ourselves permission to be who we are and like the things we like. Like, I'll never forget the concert. I went to a concert a while ago in LA when I was living in LA. And it was a musician where I'm like, I know none of my friends liked her, but I really appreciated that. I was like, no, I love her music, and I know that some people may not like her music, but I'm drawn to it. And I remember I went to her concert by myself, and I loved it. I was just like, and then I met people who like, I started talking to some people around me and who liked her music, and it was a very cool experience. I think sometimes we feel we're limited, and it's not to say to knock off friends. I'm not. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that like, part of life experience is that a self-exploration and being in spaces where other people are doing the same thing, and sometimes you then end up around those people, like you and Carly. Like, oh my God, like it's crazy. It's a beautiful thing to be in a space with, like, that's one of my questions I was going to ask you, is that creative side of you. What do you like love about it when you're, oh no, bad Jackie. Oh man, my phone's never on.
You're good. Not bad, all good.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, what are the questions I was dying to ask you? Because I am in that space. I think we are in that space of just being creative and going for it. And what do you, it's a two-part question.
Okay.
When you were younger, think about 8-year-old Emilee, 8-year-old, okay? Like, what is it about being creative what did you love about being creative?
I love the storytelling aspect. I think even as a kid, like probably maybe not 8, maybe when I was 10, I asked for like a video camera. Even before that, when my parents would have like their, they had like a Bible study, me and my brother and a friend, we would always try and, like, I was like probably 6, we would always try and do the show Peter Pan.
Yes.
Which is like, I don't know why we did the same show every time.
I love it. Wait, who was Peter Pan?
My brother was Peter Pan.
Love it.
And I was Wendy, and our friend was Tinkerbell. She
God,
was the blonde, so she got to be Tinkerbell. I was kind of jealous. I feel like we could have switched sometimes, but it was okay. But yeah, so I loved like the aspect of storytelling. I did theater as a kid. I did all these different things that kind of go by the wayside, especially as you go into college. And like I didn't join a theater group in college. I wasn't necessarily the best actress, but I loved the creativity of it, and I loved the storytelling aspect. And so I think that being able to come back in a digital age and with social media and being able to tell my story and also hopefully propel other people to feel comfortable being their authentic self, which is so much to unpack. I do recommend therapy for it. I do recommend, reading books, reaching out to other individuals, following people on social media that are doing the things that you want to do. I think there's, definitely need support. I'm not saying be your authentic self at the cost of like not talking to anyone, just being like shutting off people in your life, because community is so important. But finding that community and you know, diving into it and finding people that you can be honest with, even if they don't necessarily share all of your interests, but that they can appreciate it and they're not going to make fun of you for it and they're not going to make you feel badly for being different. So I think that was a really big thing for me.
So now that you're being creative in your day job, and you know, how do you feel about it now? Like, do you feel like you're honoring your 8-year-old Emilee? Like, how do you feel? Because, and the reason why I bring that back into the fold is when I went through this in the last couple years, going to therapy and really coming back to my true self, I'm like, I'm really grateful that I'm in touch with that part of who I was and who I am. That is me, you know, that was me. And so to me, it's like, I don't want to, for me, I'm like, I don't want to forget that 10-year-old Jackie. Like, she's like right here. And I'm like, like we're together in this journey. Cause I'm like, I don't know, for me, that's like very important. What about for you?
Yeah, I think as I grow more and more into my, as I further accept myself and further kind of combined that role self and what self? What were you saying?
True self.
Role self and true self.
Yeah.
The more I go down that path, the more I feel like I am honoring the child that I was, the person that, you know, she would have wanted to grow up to be, not the person that society tried to make me, or that my family, you know, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I just followed the path that my family had done and all those sort of things. So I think, I definitely think I have honored her in many ways. And also just being able to express myself and feel comfortable with it. And I did, as a kid, I did struggle with friendships. I'm not sure. It was probably a lot because I was trying to fit in so hard, and I wasn't trying, like, I think it's so funny that we try to fit in, but we don't necessarily try to find people, like, who fit us.
Yeah, because we don't, and then to add on that, I don't think it's because I don't think we do the work to figure out what is important
really
to
want.
us. Yeah. So it's just a domino effect. You're just like,
if we're all trying to fit in, does anyone know who they are?
Ooh.
And so I like.
What does that mean for you though, getting to know who you are? Because I've mentioned it many times on here that I had a friend who was like, go to therapy. You're just like, you'll figure out who you are. And I thought it was so, it was silly. Yeah. I thought it was like, you're being silly. Like,
right.
And now I'm like, no, I get it.
I think for me, figuring out who I was does go back to like my interests, does go back to who I was as a child, and my mom always would say like I was so much like her, and that she was an extrovert, so I was an extrovert, and I was like, I would always be like, I don't know about that, but now I enjoy genuine people conversation, and I do enjoy friendship, but I am genuinely an introvert. Like, I could be home for 4 days working, DMing on Instagram, talking to a few friends. My husband, my best friend also lives with us, so like that's very, we're very fortunate. She moved in during the pandemic because we were also lonely, and we're just like, don't leave. I do find rest in being alone. And that is not a bad thing. Like, there's nothing wrong with being an introvert. There's nothing wrong with any of those things. But I think growing up, I was kind of forcing myself into trying to be like my mom because she had so many friends, or she this, she that. And like, no shame, it's just not who I was. So I think accepting, like, really boiling it down to like, okay, is this who I am, or is this what I was taught to be? And kind of in therapy, kind of examining those things and the difference, and like seeing how when you talk about certain things and when you look back on yourself or the traumas you've had or the experiences you've had, like, what was your motivation? What was the feeling you had in your body? Like, what was your gut feeling? Like, I was always anxious going into rooms of people I didn't know. And like, that is okay. And like, I think one thing that social media really helped me with was like kind of getting to know some people before I met them.
Oh,
so like when I met you, I felt already so comfortable. I was like, I usually don't talk this much, but like I feel comfortable because I like had a sense of who you were. And usually like before that, I didn't have, there was no way to suss someone out before meeting them. And so like normally in rooms where I would have potentially been quiet, I felt like I could kind of understand the person and see like, oh, she cares about mental health. She cares about all these things that I also care about. Like I can let my guard down a little more because I know there's a commonality.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I know when you told me that, I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, I have such respect for creative people, for people who freely express themselves. I think it's because I know that inner work that you've done, and I respect that, and I think it's admirable. It's I don't know. I've been using the word. It's been very liberating to just feel like I'm sure you feel this way, where you feel like you can bring yourself to your work. Like you don't have to. I'm really bad at this word, saying this word because it's hard. But help me out here. Not to compartmentalize.
Compartmentalize.
Thank you.
There you go.
So, and as a child, I was in speech class, and
Okay.
so I struggled with saying certain
crazy.
words.
That you were like on camera all the time.
Yeah, but
chatting it up.
nope. There's certain words that like decision.
Okay.
Did I say that okay?
Yeah,
Decision. But I had trouble with that. Yeah. Yeah, because Spanish was my first language, and so it was like going over to English was like a challenge. But yeah, I was in speech class, and dude, I remember being like, they would pull me outside of class to go to speech, and everybody else had to like either had to catch up or they went to go play, and I was in speech class. So, but maybe it was all that extra hard work on my speech, and here I am. I can do it.
Gave you the extra.
Yeah, I can do it.
Confidence,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool to be in this space with you, Emilee, to be like we're just like, I don't know, to be on this other side. Like I really don't think had I not done the work, I'd even be here with you right now. I told Carly the same thing. I'm like, I don't think I would have been like, I was very big on like just avoiding what I was feeling. And I think the pandemic was finally like, you can't avoid anymore.
Agreed.
Face what you're feeling inside. And I always tell my friends now, I'm like, the truth literally will set you free. Like all those cheesy things that you grew up hearing, it's all true. But why is it that? And that's one of the questions I had was like, it took me, I'm in my 30s somebody even told me, she's like, it should never get to a breaking point. Ideally, right? You don't want to hit like a rock bottom.
Right.
Unfortunately, I feel like I did, but I'm thankful for it. It helped me. But like, what do you think now, like for people in their, early 20s as they're becoming young adults, like what advice do you have for anybody who,
I think looking at.
Because you're still in your 20s though, right?
I will be 30 in less than 30 days.
No way, will you?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do something fun? By the way,
I
feel like you're gonna do
probably,
something fun.
yeah, I'm thinking something mushroom themed. As you can see, I love mushrooms.
Oh, I love that.
So I'm not entirely sure yet, but maybe a big hat is in my future.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm almost 30, and I feel like there's a lot of paths I went down, as I was saying before, just following the path, just being like, okay, other people are doing it, I'm going to do it too. And I think that the sooner you can take a step back and look at like, okay, if there weren't any judgment, which there always will be judgment, but if there weren't, if I could remove my family's expectation, if I could remove, where I grew up or the area I was subject to, what would I be doing or what would I love loudly? And I think like figuring out what you value and like what you love is so important, and the younger you can do that, the less kind of roller coasters you'll put yourself on trying to fit in. I think understanding yourself is such a underrated skill, or maybe not skill, but such an underrated thing that we do. We're trying to understand the people around us. We're trying to understand our job, our this, our that. But I think understanding yourself and what you love and like really allowing the things you love to like propel you forward. I think a lot of times, a lot of us are driven by things we don't like, or I don't want to be different. I don't want to not make money. I don't want whatever. And if you let those things drive you, although you could end up successful, I don't think you're going to end up happy.
And there's something in the I don't want this and I don't want this where it's like, dude, like, be curious about that. Like, when you said that, I'm like, immediately I was like, oh, growing up, I was like, I don't want to be gay. And had I really questioned, like, why do you not want to be? And, like, really assess the reasons why you don't. And there's something behind that. And it could be powerful.
Fear of rejection, fear of this, fear of that. And it's like, why are you going to let that fear stop you from being yourself? And then you will be so much happier and better off and probably successful if you can, like, really do what you love. And this is another one of those corny sayings that we
I love. Let's hear 'em.
As we as children, we're like, what? But it's like, do what you love and you will want to work harder. You will want to, like, do what you love and you'll be better at what you do, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, that's such a joke. Like, I love painting or whatever it is. And you're like, you know, how can I become a successful at that? But it's like, if you really love it, you will have the motivation to get through those hard times or whatever it is. And I think I did not listen to that advice often, but the sooner you do and the sooner you start to pursue those things, then I think you can really find not only your true self, but like your true happiness and like the balance in your life that you're looking for.
And let me compliment your cheesy saying with something about love too. That when you follow the things that you love will find you. And that means not just friendship or community, but also, like, that's how I found Anna. Like, I followed the things that brought me joy, which I met her on an art walk.
Okay.
I met her on an art walk meeting new people. I like to meet new people.
Yeah.
And that's where I met her. And I think, let me say, I hope I say this right, because it was all in my head right now. I'm like, you talked about community, and it's like, part of figuring out who you are is in doing that. You're never going to be alone. It will lead you to people that are like-minded. You will be in a space that will allow you to be yourself, and you will find love and you will find support, you know? And so I think it all goes hand in hand.
Yeah, it really does. And it's like crazy how we don't look at it that way, especially as younger people.
And why do we not? Why do we not?
I think it's the pressure. It's like, whatever it is, like with either your family or your school or your neighborhood or what you watch on TV, like you let that affect you so much more than your genuine feelings, which is crazy because, like, I think, like I said earlier, only you get to and have to live in your mind. So like, if you are hating everything you're doing, then you are never going to be filled with joy. Like. Yeah. And so, like, make your mind, your world, like, the safest space you can for yourself.
Like you're doing here with your house.
Yeah.
Like your space. Like, you are really cultivating your space so that you can, it's like a...
Disneyland can close, but I will always have my home.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I think one final question to kind of wrap it up, because I always think about this. I'm like, you know, there's a lot of people out there who might, and it's so funny, I don't know if I ever told you, but the reason I even started these coffee chats was because I was going through, you know, a depressive phase in my life. And I was like, I want to take people on the journey here, because it's like, it's not always gonna be great, and there's gonna be some tough times. And so some people may not have the ability to see our perspective right now. Some people might be completely like, they don't even know, like, I always think about, you know, I have to go to the garage to get my toolbox. I have the tools. Like, at this point, I have them. I need to make that effort to get, you know, grab the toolbox and open it and do that. Some people don't even know how to get out of bed and get to the door, right? And so I'm always conscious of that, because I understand that feeling. So I guess that's my last question is, for those of people out there who are like, guys, like this, girls, like, this is great, but like, I don't even know the first step to get, this might be overwhelming, you know? So my question to you is, like, what do you think is like something that they can do today, even to go, like, what are some small things to even start, like, going in that direction?
I would think I would start with, like, pen and paper or your notes app and making a list of things you genuinely love. And like whether they are things you're embarrassed of loving or things that, you think aren't viable careers. Not everything has to be a career. Like I cosplay, it's not my job. I love it. I've met people through it that I've worked with.
Yeah, you do things that is not.
Yeah, like not everything has to be a career. And so I'm not saying that, this list is going to lead you to $1 million, but it's going to lead you down a path of exploration and like make a list of things you love and try and incorporate one thing you love into at least your week, and then maybe you can incorporate it into your day. And then, the more you are driven by passion and love, I think you'll have more energy, motivation, and drive to do more of those type of things. And especially when you're depressed, you don't want to do anything. I mean, like in the pandemic, at one point, I had never watched Grey's Anatomy. I watched all of Grey's Anatomy within a few, like a month or two. Like I watched all of the show. Like I know what it's like to be down. I think a lot of us know what that's like. Yeah. And I wasn't even watching the show at most points. It was just sleeping just to have something there during a time when I couldn't see people, couldn't talk to people. But like there's times when you're depressed, and it doesn't have to be a pandemic, that you do not want to get out of bed, you do not want to do anything. And I think maybe write it on a Post-it, stick it on your mirror, screenshot it from your notes app, take a picture of the journal, and at least have it in your mind that there are things you love. And even if you don't feel the motivation to do them right now, there will be a day when you'll wake up and say, okay, maybe I want to read a book today, or pull out that comic book I've wanted to read, or go on a walk, go on a hike, do whatever the thing is that you love. And then once you slowly start integrating those things, I think you'll be able to find more passion and, maybe then get into therapy. I know therapy is not the most accessible for all people. Yeah. There are a lot of great options out there. I know there's free options, online options, but there's a lot of great books, like self-help books and things of that nature, that if you can get to the point of either you're so low that you need it, or you're slowly incorporating things you love that you can get the energy to do it, that would be my best recommendation, is to try to surround yourself with things you love and then let that kind of push you forward.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
Good.
Oh
Glad
my
you
God.
love it.
Love it. No, because I literally was like, okay, imagine being in that state and then hearing this. I'm like, yeah, like that feels, it doesn't feel overwhelming,
Attainable. Like your phone's there, you have a piece of paper, you can do something, and even if you just look at that paper for a month, you're going to know, okay, when I'm out of this bed, when I'm out of this state, those things will still be there.
And if you're watching this right now, that means you already are on your way, because if you're literally seeking or interested in hearing someone's point of view, that's a good start. So thank you.
Of course.
And thank you, Emilee.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share or talk? Any questions? I know I ask a lot of questions. But
no, I think
feel free to.
I think we went back and forth pretty well. I appreciated hearing all you had to say, and I really enjoyed doing this, and I really appreciate you coming here to do this. I think even this for me, as I said earlier, I'm more introverted. Like this is not something in the past I would have pursued, especially not having you at my house. I would have been like, oh, at your house, and then maybe I would have been like, oh, I'm sick. It happens. Like I think Carly said that too. How she would have,
like,
she would have bailed.
Glad you all didn't bail on me.
But you have to do the work and get confident enough in yourself to show up in places where you're willing to talk about it. And hopefully, by us talking about it, we can motivate someone else to feel like they can do that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank
you. And thank you for the coffee.
Thank you for the donuts. I'll be
Absolutely.
eating these all day.
Please do. And we'll have Emilee's information and her company down here below. Please follow her. She's turning 30, so happy early birthday to you.
Thank you.
As a 30-something-year-old, I think you're already like well beyond where you need to be, which is very exciting to enter your 30s in this space.
Well, hopefully some people who are younger can enter the space even sooner.
That's the goal, right? Sooner and sooner. So congratulations to you, girl.
Thank you so much for going.
Yeah, thanks. All right. Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers.